You are tuned in to News Magazine on Kantanka TV with me, Irbad Ibrahim, and Abuna. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Irbad. How are you too?
I'm fine, thank you so much. God has been good. And today, as usual, we have a packed show for you. And we are going to have in the studios a very good discussion with the former director of Ghana Education Service, Madam Nancy Yelpo. And then we also have a round of, story headlines we have both online and in various newspapers here in Ghana and across the world. We go for a quick commercial break. Sorry for the late start of the program. When we come back, Abuna will take us through the headlines. Stick and stay with us.
In a school that has keen interest in academic excellence and sound religious upbringing, then Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences is the place. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences, Great Asas, offers general arts, business, home economics, visual arts, general science and technical courses in auto mechanics and applied electricity. Great Asas has well-equipped laboratories for all the science-related courses, an ICT laboratory, and a well-stocked library. Excellent boarding facilities are available for both boys and girls with adequate security measures to ensure your world safety. Students also have the privilege to go to Apostle Safo Suaye at Gomu Ampota for practical lessons with the proprietor, Apostle Dr. Engineer Kwedo Safo, for 1 month during the long vacation. We also have a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home. Great Asas has a cadet corps, a choir, drama and debating club to harness the hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshila Stop, Accra, Ghana. Great Asas. Do you want to enroll your ward in a school that has keen interest in academic excellence and sound religious upbringing? Then Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences is the place. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences, Great Asas, offers general arts, business, home economics, visual arts, general science and technical courses in auto mechanics and applied electricity. Great Asas has well-equipped laboratories for all the science-related courses, an ICT laboratory, and a well-stocked library. Excellent boarding facilities are available for both boys and girls with adequate security measures to ensure your world safety. Students also have the privilege to go to Apostle Safo Suaye at Gomu Ampota for practical lessons with the proprietor, Apostle Dr. Engineer Kwedo Safo, for 1 month during the long vacation. We also have a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home. Great Asas has a cadet corps, a choir, drama and debating club to harness the hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshila Stop, Accra, Ghana. Great Asas.
Okay, welcome back. There is so much euphoria in the air because Donald Trump's president, Melania Trump, is in town. So much frenzy, both in mainstream media and on social media. Abena, what do we have by way of stories before we tackle Melania Trump?
Well, I got a lot for you today. I'll quickly take you to our local news headlines. Great. This one is from CTFM. Singapore abolishes school exam rankings, saying learning is not a competition. Do you think learning is a competition in
this is country? Arguable because I attended an A-class school. I'm proud of that, Opokuari School, and I believe you also did.
Look at the smile on your face.
Yes, of course. Everybody is proud of his former school. But is it good when we pit, students against each other? We have the National Maths and Science Quiz, which is a yardstick to judge whether a school is an A-class school or a D-class school, for example. And then, unfortunately, that creates inferiority complex because you could say, okay, I attended such a high school. Then people will think, no, it doesn't make the cut. So therefore, to that end, even though I believe that competition is good for efficiency, but I believe we shouldn't create any feeling of inferiority in the hearts of students.
And in my opinion, I think you're right, because it kind of demoralizes people's intuition and children that are coming up. You're not supposed to put them into that competition, so it really makes them, it really demoralizes them.
But so. It's still arguable. In business, if you have a field there and there is no competition, of course, diminishing returns is going to set in because you become complacent. So therefore, if you look over your shoulder with the thought that someone is chasing you,
well, I think they should minimize it, though.
Okay, no problem.
Anyway, we take you to the next one. Isaac Dogby says Isaac Dogby signs a long-term promotional agreement with Top Rank.
Bukom is seen as a crucible for the creation of a lot of promising young boxers. Azuma Nelson came through that, and then our own good friend Bukum Banku and a host of others. This young chap is making us proud internationally,
definitely.
And I believe Ghanaians should throw their weight behind him.
Okay. I'll take you to the third one. This one, this is from City News. Ghana losing 13.5 billion to corruption every year. This is from Shrag. Do you
Corruption,
think,
My Joy Online, I think
yes,
the story
this
is
is
from
My Joy
Online.
Online.
You see, there are genocidal crimes that are committed across the world, and people are exterminated in their tens of thousands. But as a result of corruption, people die. There was a very poignant story about a child that died in hospital because his parents couldn't afford oxygen.
Sure.
And someone stashes away tens of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars in an offshore account, money meant for the masses. So the Chinese model could be helpful. There should be stringent punitive measures. There should be a cost for being corrupt. Then that will serve as a deterrent. If not, we've created the Office of Special Prosecutor, but I don't really feel him currently. And he even came out with an epistle today in the papers complaining that he's not resourced enough to chase people that are corrupt. So I believe we are losing a lot to corruption, and there needs to be a punishment.
But
for
why do you
being
think
corrupt.
this corruption is part and parcel of us, especially in Africa? Well, I think corruption is everywhere. It's everywhere around the world. But I think Africa is too much.
In our case, the sheer level of impunity. You know, people steal money in broad daylight. And you know the repercussion? They catch you for stealing and they say refund it to the state. There is no punishment. So the worst that can happen when you are caught is payback into the chest of the state. But China doesn't look at corruption with kid gloves. It doesn't treat it as such. People go to jail for being corrupt. People die and they are killed for being corrupt. So therefore, fundamentally, I believe if there is a punitive measure, then over time, the infamy Africa has earned because of corruption will not be a classification for us as a continent.
Well, Africa must rise, I think.
We should rise the right way.
Well, definitely.
Yes, yes.
Okay, this is from My Joy Online. 180,000 Ghanaian women died of breast cancer in 2018. This is becoming a cliche, I think.
180?
Yes.
That is one too many. And then there is degeneration
No,
within the...
1,800.
1,800, that's too much. And there is degeneration within the health sector. We've heard that the National Health Insurance Authority isn't doing too well. You are not covered because you have that card if you have certain ailments. And number two, the issue of no birth syndrome, as it has come to be known in Ghana. You are in a dire situation, you need emergency care, but they say the hospital cannot accommodate you. So this breast cancer menace fits into a pattern of mass burial, wanton loss of life within the medical sector. And I believe that the time has come for us as a country to invest some more to save lives.
But what do you think can be done about this?
Outreach, apart from government resourcing these health facilities to tackle these problems, I believe that outreach will also be important. As a woman, how do you take care of yourself? If there is enough outreach, I believe we'll be able to tackle some of these challenges.
We'll take it from, we quickly move you to another one. This is from Citi. Men's Gold resumes payment of retains to customers today.
Some people have already hanged Men's Gold. And they say they should be given the opportunity to prove themselves. Some say Men's Gold is a Ponzi scheme. Some say, no, it's not a Ponzi scheme. And people are quite worried because people have invested fortunes into the activities of Men's Gold. So it's quite refreshing that they are beginning to pay people returns on their investments, as SEC and the Bank of Ghana find a reasonable closure to the impasse between them and Men's Gold.
Do you bank with Men's Gold?
No, I don't.
No,
I
okay.
do mainstream banking,
Oh,
but of
okay.
course, that doesn't mean somebody's financial operations are wrong. We wait to see what becomes of the debacle between them and state authorities.
Okay, so that's it for our local news. I'll quickly move you to the international news. This is from BBC. US First Lady arrives in Ghana for solo African trip.
That's a good story. You remember when Donald Trump was reported to have described this continent as an S-hole continent? Yeah. I think Donald Trump is a protectionist leader. Yes, that is understandable, America first, but he's an anti-establishment president. Let's give him some time. I believe he will soften his stance on Africa. And now that Melania goes back to tell him good story,
Do you think he will?
Melania is going to tell him very good stories about Ghana and the rest of Africa. So I won't be surprised if before the end of his first term as president, he visits this continent.
Okay. And this is from Al Jazeera. Thousands killed in Ethiopia. Ethnic clashes.
Ghana has done so well to tackle some of these issues. I have done some work in East Africa and other parts of the world. One ethnic group is pitted against another ethnic group. There are no state regulatory structures, statutory bodies. We have the National Peace Council. We have regional houses of chiefs. And then we have the National House of Chiefs. All of these, help in resolving some of these conflict situations. Of course, the incidents in Alavanyo, in the Volta region, and in Konya, and also Boko, and then Dagbon. These are worrying, ethnic, issues. But I believe Ghana has done fairly well. We don't see the level of casualties we see in other countries. So we wish Ethiopia well, but Ethiopia can learn from the Republic of Ghana by coming up with reconciliatory state structures that will preempt ethnic violence before it happens.
Well, I think Ghana should learn something from this because there had been other ethnic clashes in the northern part of Ghana.
Of course, each life lost is regrettable, Abena, but we hardly go beyond 10. And these are sporadic. They happen and you don't hear of them. In other places, vast swathes of villages are burnt down. People are killed and all that. So I think I would give us a thumbs up, but there's always room for improvement.
Okay. This is it for today's this is it for today's trending news. I'll quickly take a leave of
oh, don't worry, you are not taking a leave because you'll be back. Keep your text messages coming. We are going to sit shortly with former director of Ghana Education Service, Madam Nancy Yelpo, and then your views on preschool education. This month is Education Month for us. We are going to diagnose the problems and proffer lasting solutions to them. Stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Bra Nyankopɔn bo ni wiase no wɔtena ase din hunu sɛ nneɛma wo bo yɛ nyina yɛ na adebɔ nto aso ba akɔ de hyɛ nipa nsa ne awo ɛne sɛ obi bɛwo aba wiase na kola na didam obi nso so ɛba wiase ansa na wabenya ɛfa akwanhyia mu ɛnam saa yɔ so ma Kantanka television ɛde dwumadie sonko kura din ɛda so ne makosɛm ɛbrɛ wo na dwumadie so ɛna obehu obi a wɔfuru kube ɛkɔte ɛbɛgyina kwan ho ɛtɔn saa nso na obi a n'ani afira na wɔyɛ nwo wɔwɔ ɛyɛ ɛho bibia obehu obi ɔtete ahahai ɛne deɛ wɔno nso so ɛyɛ samana wɔn mo nyinaa ani afira na yasan so ne atitiriw atwetwe nkɔmɔ afamprewanyi nsɛn awaregya yɛ ho nsunsuasoɔ ɛne nkwadaa yɛde wɔn kɔ nkwaso na bɛmo ahunu sɛ abrabɔ na wɔbɔ no akyea nso emu
Ghana ɛyɛ ɔman a nyame ahyira yɛn sɛ ɛba na ɛfamagudi a yɛwɔ ɛfamagudi asene ɔman biara sɛ ɔman bia betu mpɔn so a ne titiriw no agina abɔdeɛ mu nyansapɛ ɛne nhwehwɛmu nanso Ghana ɛyɛ ɔman a area ɛwɔ abɔdeɛ mu nyansapɛ ɛne nhwehwɛmu onim se oman yi mu ye won krofo a akwadre ewo abodie mu nyansape ene nhwehwemu na wadwe akomo so ana de ebema oman etumpon ene se ye beji de yetumi ye atum na yaji ye ho adi na yenya metumi aye honhom Ghana hia me Ghana hia wo Ghana hia ye nyina enti hia me afia safo akantimpo ewo Kantanka exclusive jumedie so na yendwene oman puntu
we gonna chase those crazy chase them crazy.
Onipa how ene ne da achenti ena abribia wo sori prayer hwehwe na ahoto ne nso ema prekope enkukuhwe ase ene wo how bebre ene wo mu wenti ena Kantanka TV ya hwehwe dwumadie foforo kra ya to din se edwaso nsem wo dwaso nsem dwumadie so ne baba pina adwadefo ne abusa wo mo how ene wo mama ne wo mo efa mu na empo se edaw bitai akira a wo de pre ahwehwe won da achen ahoto eno ti hia wo bia ba ama adwobi e wo Kantanka TV ne emfa edwaso nsem emfa mbro.
Do you want to enroll your ward in a school that has keen interest in academic excellence and sound religious upbringing? Then Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences is the place. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences, Great Assas, offers general arts, business, home economics, visual arts, general science and technical courses in auto mechanics and applied electricity. Great Assas has well-equipped laboratories for all the science-related courses, an ICT laboratory, and a well-stocked library. Excellent boarding facilities are available for both boys and girls with adequate security measures to ensure your ward's safety. Students also have the privilege to go to Apostle Safo Suaye at Gomu Ampota for practical lessons with the proprietor, Apostle Dr. Engineer Kwedo Safo, for 1 month during the long vacation. We also have a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home. Great Assas has a cadet corps, a choir, drama and debating club to harness the hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshila Stop, Accra, Ghana. Great Assas.
You're welcome back. Today we are discussing preschool, and then this is Education Month for us. And we have in the studios Madam Nancy Yelpo, former Director, Ghana Education Service. Mommy, thank you so much for making time.
And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mommy. Earlier this week, the team went to a nearby school, and a Montessori school, to find out the condition over there, the kind of facilities that are available, and do they suit the training we want to give our young ones. We will ask Madam that. And throughout the interview, you can keep your text messages coming via WhatsApp on 0242 817 239, 0242 817 239. My colleague Abena Safo will read them pretty shortly. Mommy, welcome.
Thank you.
You were an administrator, you were a teacher, you were a mother. What is your general overview of the state of preschool education in Ghana?
Well, preschool education is a welcome idea, like most other educational issues. It's the implementation that has always been the problem. Because you go and get a topic from a foreign country, you bring it, you want to implement it wholesale into the Ghanaian society, into the Ghanaian culture, as if you are ignorant of the fact that the cultures within which that practice has been going on is totally different. And so that is how we end up having lapses. But pre-education is a good idea.
So, Mommy, when you say we swallow hook, line, and sinker, or import wholesale, what do you mean? At that infantile level, is there a syllabus that is followed? Is it the American system or the British system some of these schools follow?
That is what it is. And preschool, for a very long time, was in the private hands, not in the mainstream. In fact, pre-education was not under the Ministry of Education or the Ghana Education Service for a long time. And so people who brought it in were either focused on making money or wanting something to do. And so they couldn't create a culture They couldn't create a syllabus that was suitable to our system. So they equally imported the syllabuses. And very few of them even attempted amending them to suit our society.
So at what point did the GES and government generally find it necessary to mainstream them? And what has been the collaboration? Have they been cooperative, or they've always, seen it as a lucrative venture?
Well, they look at it as a lucrative venture, but the Ministry of Education and the GES had to make sure, as a matter of policy, that it is brought under the right heading. Around the time of the implementation of the junior secondary school or junior high school, that was when we thought it was really necessary, important, and relevant to put it into right perspective. So we decided we were going to write and get ownership of it from social welfare, and it was a headed tax, but we had to do it because it was necessary. We needed to prepare syllabuses, we needed to get teachers trained, and of course people thought we were removing the bread from their mouth, but as a policy maker, you always have to do the right thing. So we brace all odds to make sure we have it.
So there was stiff resistance from the owners of those schools?
Yeah, because it's like taking bread out of people's mouths. They thought they were making money and we were going to cut short their bread or something like that.
So what was the regulatory regime at that time? Nobody determined the level of fees that were paid. Nobody determined the structures that were put up. No, they were answerable to nobody.
Almost that was it. That is why we thought it was a breach of policy. If we were supposed to be the policy leaders for education to allow these things to go on unchecked. We knew the resistance was there, but it was a duty and a policy to make sure we get them into the right labels. And of course, we did a lot of monitoring. You go to most of them, you realize the facilities were not up to date. You have about 4 or 5 people sleeping on mats. Toilet facilities were not the best to write home about. The feeding, the same. And even the caretakers, the young girls who were supposed to be taking care of them were hardly trained. Most of them learned on the spot, on the job. And of course, if the mother herself or the owner, the proprietor herself, was not trained, well, then you have the blind leading the blind. It looked like that was the situation that we had. There were 1 or 2 that were perfectly good because they studied the topic outside. They were interested, they invested in it for the intrinsic value, not just the extrinsic. And so those schools were, of course, like any school in Europe. But you can't compare them really when you go around. Like I visited a day care center in Canada. It's a complete strange story. So like I said, there's nothing wrong bringing it in. Our young ones learn from their grandparents. And there were lots and lots of things they learned. Now, we threw those ones to the dogs. And so if we are mainstreaming into what we brought from the white man, then we should do it the way they do it. We've ended up in a situation, it's like they are not gaining from the home. The informal sector is almost written off, as you are aware. And from then the formal sector too, we just have to make sure the right thing is done. For example, you pick up your child from a brie, wake her up at 4 a.m., bath the child while the child is dozing, dress the child up and put her on the sofa like a doll, then you get yourself ready. By 5, 6, you're on the way and the child is sleeping till you get to the school. I mean, those are issues psychologists will have to deal with, not those of us in the 4 corners of this room. Or we have to think about those things. What kind of creatures do they grow into? Because you start your life with a stress. And if we don't take care of these things, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm sure we are feeling the aftermath of some of those things. The environments today stay within, they are not roomy enough. And again, as the psychologists, they will tell you what it means to have a child in this room, which is too small for comfort. The facilities they play with in those schools too are not up to date and up to standard. But in the village, you have the whole farm to run around. So I think it's food for thought that we really start thinking about, yes, we are bringing the preschool. Is it serving the purpose? Are we getting enough out of it? Like in the days when they were having the informal sector. Are we prepared to think about it? Are we prepared to make some moderate changes and not swallow wholesale what we bring in? These are questions that educationists will have to be told or reminded to think about. What creatures are we training our preschools into?
I feel touched by the anecdote that children as young as 3 or 4 or 5 would be waking up at 4 a.m., knowing so well that even as adults, we need certain number of hours of sleep.
Well, if you filter, but those are the realities we are living with. If you have never heard, ask and you'll be told. If you have your house in a brick, your house is there with your husband, you can't afford to pay accommodation, but you want the child to go to Merton Nursery, which is just by the ministry, what do? What precisely do you? Because you have a standard that you want your child to grow into. Your idea about an educated child. So you sleep in a brick and you wake the child up at 4 and start all this stress process, I would say, to get the child to Merton. Is it worth it?
Would you also blame that on the, some will say, vicissitudes or exigencies of the time? And this capital city is overcrowded. It is congested up to its brims. And therefore, if a parent that works in a corporate setting doesn't set off early, how do you drop the kid and also report punctually to work? So are there quick fixes, alternatives you would recommend to corporate families?
The alternatives are that the educationists and parents should sit together at a round table and think of something else. Of course, the vagaries of the economy, for better of a better word, tells us that some of these things will have to go on the way they are going on. Are we going to reap the best from those children in future? That's the question I always ask. Because you have to get money to pay light, you have to get money to do this, you want to buy the child a laptop, a tablet, you must look for the money. But the question is, do we sacrifice the child's future for that? What products are we producing for the future in this country? Now we say you go to school, they are rough. What are we producing? The foundation must be looked at strictly. The foundation of your child must be watched. Would you really prefer your child rest at home or go to school at age 2? But the question is, who takes care of that child? Is your mother still alive? Are the house helps trained? The problems are many, but that doesn't mean we should sweep it under the carpet. That's my issue.
For people that are wealthy enough, ma'am, can they employ daycare instructors or teachers? So instead of leaving a breed to come,
Exactly.
The kids can be trained at home. Can there be a nanny and a younger lady who will take care of subjects and the cultural upbringing is done by the old lady you trust?
I think it's not so much of bringing the, it's the attitude of the average Ghanaian. That anybody who falls short of going to Morning Star, of going to Christ the King, of coming to Merton, is a half academician. It's the general attitude of the Ghanaian. We live so much on titles and tax that if you don't go to a Legon, it means you are not a graduate. If you don't go to Tech, you are not a graduate. And so that attitude in us, I said if I were anybody in this country, you start learning attitude from age 1. Because that is what is creating all the mess we have. You are brought up with the attitude that you must go to Merton before you can be told that you had good education. Can everybody really go to Merton? No. So why don't we think of getting small or some of these things in a good one, that the child at least can have a bit of rest. Instead of putting the child through the pressures, I don't know if I'm giving you a totally story. Maybe I'm just drawing attention to the fact that our preschools are really going through something else.
Ebri is just a stone's throw away from the central business district, relatively speaking.
Yes.
Then go to Pungburgu Yoyo.
Yes.
Go to far-flung villages in the
Yes.
western region, in the eastern region,
Yes.
in the Bronhafu region.
Yes.
How widespread are, preschools in Ghana, or they are meant for people that belong to the league of the elite. So beyond Accra, Kumasi, and Tamale, there are no preschools anywhere else in Ghana.
Yeah, I will say so. There are preschools all over. I come from a village in the Upper West. There are preschools there. But then you don't have people patronizing it because there's a grandmother to wash the nappies, there's a grandmother to take care of the child. That agency for having your child going to preschool is not there. Besides, the culture does not have that attitude that if you don't go to preschool, you'll not come out a good scholar. I never went to preschool, even though my daddy was a teacher. We all played around, walked bare feet, and then we came up. You go and sit in the classroom at the secondary school level, at the university level, with people who started preschool from their mommy's stomachs, if I may say so. So what really are we after? You start school right from age 1, age 2, and I never go to preschool. But we end up in the same lecture theater in the university. Am I a half-baked educated person? I'm saying we need to look at these things and our attitude towards what we want for the Ghanaian. I think that is really important. It's not just the show of my child is going to Maytown, my child is going to Christ the King, the uniform is different, you drop the child in the place with a car, maybe a V8, and create a different social class for your child. But you grow up and you go to Makula to buy tomatoes.
Okay, we go for a quick commercial break. Mommy mentioned infrastructure, and we'll soon, show you an insight of a Montessori preschool we went to. Stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, lovely people of Africa. African Youth Time. It's the show, as I rightly said, that gives African youth the platform to have an up close with living legends who are helping build the continent.
The youth of Africa, they have a lot of potential.
What is killing Africans is our inability to discover and identify our potentials and what we can do for ourselves.
Nobody makes you a leader. You become a leader.
We are not poor. The resources in Congo alone can feed the whole Africa.
Do you want to enroll your ward in a school where quality basic education, discipline and moral upbringing is our hallmark? Then come to Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Basic School. Great Asas, Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences has vacancies in preschool, lower and upper primary, JHS 1 and JHS 2, with spacious and ventilated classrooms. The school also has excellent boarding facilities for students from upper primary to JHS. Great Asas also has a well-stocked library, a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home, with adequate security measures to ensure your ward safety. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Preschool has state-of-the-art learning materials to make learning fun for your ward. We also have the Cadet Corps and a cultural troupe to tap hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshi Last Stop, Accra. Great Asa!
Bra Nyankopɔn bo ni wiase no wɔtena ase din hunu sɛ nneɛma wo bo ye nyina ye na adebɔ nto aso ba akɔ de hye nipa nsa ne awo ɛne sɛ obi bɛwo aba wiase na kola na didam obi nso so ɛba wiase ansa na wabenya ɛfa akwanhyia mu ɛnam saa yɔ so ma Kantanka television ɛde dwumadie soronko kura din ɛda so ne makosɛm ɛbrɛ wo na dwumadie so ɛna obehu obi a wɔfuru kube ɛkɔte ɛbɛgyina kwan ho ɛtɔn saa nso na obi a n'ani afira na wɔyɛ wo wɔwɔ ɛyɛ ɛho bibia obehu obi ɔtete ahahai ɛne deɛ wɔno nso so ɛyɛ samana wɔn mo nyinaa ani afira na yasan so ne atitiriw atwetwe nkɔmɔ afamprewani nsɛn awaregya yɛ ho nsunsuasoɔ ɛne nkwada a yɛde wɔn kɔ nkwaso na bɛmo ahunu sɛ abrabɔ na wɔbɔ no akyea nso emu.
You're welcome back, and we are still in the studios with a mother, a teacher, an administrator, former director of Ghana Education Service, Madam Nancy Yelpo. You can keep your text messages coming via our WhatsApp line 0242 817 239. Mommy, you're welcome back.
Thank you, dear.
But before we continue the conversation, the crew went out to Troy Montessori Preschool to look at the state of conditions over there. We take a quick insert. And when we come back, we'll discuss that. One of the schools, not Troy. Mommy, okay. And so the pictures that are rolling are facilities. Mommy, I hope you can see them. The facilities they have in the school. Are these up to scratch? Do they meet the standards set by the Ghana Education Service? I can see a couch and some play kits for the children.
Well, once the person decides she's going to provide preschool education, you try to meet whatever is asked for. So I think it's really up to scratch.
Okay. So there is a round table.
Yes.
Is there
Which
any...
is highly recommended.
Okay. Then there is there any, directive given as to what the child to instructor or teacher ratio should be in a preschool? How many kids can be under one teacher, and in what space?
Well, in Ghana, because we do not have the facilities, like I said, most of them are private. The private person may choose to have a very large number. But obviously, you agree that preschool, if you have a very large number, it's an uphill task. How to stop them, noise, cleaning them. So normally, you shouldn't have more than 20.
More than 20 in a class?
Yes, I don't remember the precise policy number we have now. But it's just like the numbers in the JSS, in the senior high schools. There are specific numbers you need to have in a class because of student-teacher contact hours. But then because the facilities are not there, or because the proprietor wants more money, you set up your own guidelines. And like I'm saying, monitoring is an issue in Ghana in almost every department. Because if the people concerned, the educationists, you go to monitor, then you can query that the class is too large or the class is too small, or the facilities are not up to standard. But monitoring has always been a big issue in Ghana. We can have money for everything except monitoring.
Okay, and thank you so much. Then we looked at the larger picture of the state of education in this country. There is a little feature we'll show you, so stick and stay. And there's a short feature on education in the Republic of Ghana.
From the very first day they put me on that room, I began to feel like I'm nothing. Yes. And they made us feel that the classroom is not for people like us. And not only me, but all those on this room. They gave us a name. They called us block-headed. In my local dialects, they will say Abon Pan. A spotlight dawned on us, and it started with me. And this time around, I will prove myself in this class test.
Who did the work for you?
This one, I did it myself.
Hey, when our child is working?
She doesn't believe in my ability. She makes me rewrite, and I rewrite.
Alice, come and do it here.
And I am writing it in front of her.
Is it Angelina? You write it again.
What's the matter? But must I always fail?
You will come back. That is these are only snippets that are a testament to the sorry state in which we find the culture of education in some of our schools. Mommy, we have very little time and so much to talk about. I'll ask you this question. Kids with disability, yes. Is there any provision for them in preschool? Because when you look at the National Accreditation Board, when you put up a university now, there should be a separate staircase or elevator for people that are cripples and they have other special needs. At that tender age, some people are born with disabilities. Are there provisions for them?
There are provisions for all these. But like I kept saying, it's an issue of monitoring the system. Because if you are going to create a school, you include all these people. Like the autism schools, they take special interest on what are their needs. And so we should take special interest on what are the needs of disabled children. They cannot climb, they cannot move this way. But the thing is, are they there? Are they provided? That is the multi-million question. In fact, I don't want to be like a prophet of doom. I just want to give a call, an early call that we need to delve more into preschool than we really are doing now. But we should encourage ourselves, at least we've started it. Rome was not built in one day. We should always encourage ourselves that we can improve the situation. Okay. But then we need to know that these things need to be looked at again policy-wise.
Okay.
You just don't take it like a blanket shoe.
Child delinquency at all levels, including the level at which the young girl, that was featured in the documentary. Yes. I was caned. We were all flagellated when we went wrong as children. What is the state of punishment for delinquency within the educational service now? Are teachers allowed to stretch a cane on kids to put them right?
Well, delinquency has changed with time like everything else. When we were in school, reading was one of them. The least thing you must read if you are late. Even now in the secondary schools, you bring a cutlass so that when they want to punish you, you go and then you read. But I've always said my father was a farmer, and that should not be punishment. Because the child grows up with an attitude that weeding is bad. You should be punished when you weed. They should find other things like depriving them of maybe a toy or a snack or something.
But Mommy, we've all traveled to the white man's land.
Yes.
A child goes wrong, then they say time out.
Yes.
Go and face the wall for 5 minutes. But the African children are not like that.
Yeah, African children are not like that because we are more adventurous, because our needs are more. If we put it that way, than the white man's, half of your needs are met when you go to school in the white man's country. But here you virtually have no need. That's how we take it. So if you go and is there, if you come in late, go and kneel down, stand and raise your hands, get a cane, go and weed. These are the common ones. But the Education Service has come out with a policy that amounts to capital punishment. You should not be the child, you should not do this, you should not do that. But me, a traditionalist, the old book says, spare the rod and spoil the child. So we are torn in between and between. Now, if you don't beat this child, how do you get the child to reform? But there must always be an element of punishment at all ages to let people reform. Like you are talking about our economy. If people are corrupt, what are their reforming measures? There are no monetary issues, and sometimes you realize that by the time you go to the person is completely destroyed because he has stopped money. Did you monitor the person? Is the system happy with what is operating?
So, Mommy, you still think we should spank the children a little bit?
Well, a traditionalist, there's no harm in just one stroke. I think that will get the child.
Of course, there are
the
child rights activists who would
yes.
also say punishing a child would not necessarily change their attitude.
Yes, but you study the system. If the child rights activists, they should go to the school, the environment, find out what kind of punishment would be suitable other than the cane. You just don't criticize without alternatives. I don't really believe in spanking because the child may go on, but I'm saying, what is the alternative to change that child? The old book says, train the child in the way you want, and when he grows, he won't depart from it. So what do we do? How do we train them? What do we do? The activists should get to the village, know what you think you can do, and change those village children. A child in Accra you ask to weed may not like it, but a child in my village is used to weeding. I think we need to investigate more into this and just giving blanket statement by the activists.
Okay, a little higher than just preschool. I listened to the girl quite, attentively. I can see people still use the blackboard and chalk in school. Do we still, can't we use mica or marker boards across boards so that it becomes a policy that no school at all levels should be allowed to, because it's hazardous to the health of both the teacher and the children that you use chalk?
It's an opportunity or an alternative. You go to Bumbrugu Yoyo. Now even we had to convince them to repaint a wall which was being used as blackboard. The opportunities vary from place to place. Here we're crying that the cement wall should be repainted black so that it will be legible, the white chalk writing, to the villager. We are living in an environment with all ups and downs. So what are we going to do to level A unless we categorize them? But can you get a marker for all the schools? Remember, when you are talking about education, it's volumes and volumes of money. The teachers, almost every village has a school. Count the teachers alone. For any government taking up a policy on education will have to think and rethink and calculate and recalculate and budget and rebudget. Other than that, you make a mess out of what is already existing. If you give that policy that everybody should use a marker wall, will you have enough money to provide for all the schools? A politician goes to campaign and says, oh, if you vote for me, I'll give you a school. The next day, he gives you 100 bags of cement. You make a foundation. At the end of the day, you end up roofing it with palm fronts. You're talking about blackboard. We're talking of the realities. What do we do? They need a school like I need one in Accra. So what do you think is the barest minimum that the government can provide for all schools? If they can get flipboard, I believe all in that. But is that feasible? Is it possible? Will we keep to that? Can we contain the cost?
That is indeed food for thought. I will shortly welcome back my colleague Abena to read some of your text messages. Keep them coming as we wrap up on 0242 817-239. Before we go for our final break, Mommy, there's one thing that is of utmost importance: bullying.
Yes.
You can see in this case, the girl feels bullied by the teacher. But amongst the kids, how do we tackle bullying? Quite briefly, then we go for our last commercial break.
Bullying happens from nursery up to the university. You know, ponding is a way of bullying. Most people are ponded in the universities. At least when I was there, people were ponded, even females. It's some kind of a culture. But the thing is, some of them are so severe that they affect the children psychologically or physically and can take them through life. So bullying in all forms. Fortunately for me, I went to a convent school. At my time, there was no bullying, so I escaped it. But it's all over. It's not good for the health. It's not good for anything. So educationists must supervise and make sure the directors know that bullying should not be encouraged.
Thank you so much for being succinct, Mommy. So we go for our final commercial break. When we come back, Abena Safo reads your messages. Stick and stay with us.
Ghana eyo omaya nyame ehrayen se eba na efamagudi a yawo efamagudi asne oman bia se oman bia betu mpon so a ne titiri no agina abodie mu nyansape ene nhwehwemu nanso Ghana eyo oman a area ewo abodie mu nyansape ene nhwehwemu onim se oman yi mu yawo nkrofo a akwadre ewo abodie mu nyansape ene nhwehwemu na wadwe akwom so ana de ebema oman etumpon ene se ye beji de yetumi ye atum na yaji ye ho adi na yenya metumi aye honhom Ghana hia me Ghana hia wo Ghana hia ye nyina enti hia me afia asafo akantimpo e wo Kantanka exclusive jumedie so na yendwene oman puntu mu
We gonna chase those crazy. Chase them crazy.
Welcome back. We are still in the studios with Madame Nancy Yelpo, former director of Ghana Education Service, and I'm joined by my able colleague Abena Saf. Abena, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
What messages do we have by way of social media?
Well, I got so many comments, so little time. We've received excellent social media feedback today. And I must comment, I really enjoyed the discussion this morning.
Mommy was wonderful, and she continues to be here. I'm sure she'll tackle some of the concerns.
Anyway, I never had a feel of preschool, but we'll take it that way. Okay. This actually leads us to our first question of the day. I want to ask if this system really fits our curriculum in Ghana, because I feel this is only for a busy parent to keep their children in school and get busy with their job.
Mommy, how do you respond to that? There are people in the informal sector, but they are rich enough and they have the luxury of time. Is it cut for purpose, fit for purpose for all parents?
Well, I know even professors who don't send their children to school unless after 4 years. Once they can get somebody to take care of them. Remember, the child learns a lot about the environment. Now, the school is sort of a cut off space. There are things you learn at home that you can't learn at school. Let the child discover the environment first before he goes to preschool. If you have the money, why not? It's coming up, we have to live up with it. There may be a time when we have to go to preschool. But I'm saying if you don't have the money or you feel the child can stay till 4 years, I'm all for it, because sending the child 2 years from wherever it is to Accra, I think that is not the best.
Okay, thank you. Abena, what else?
Okay, this one says, well, this is actually not a question. This one says, it's very sad. I haven't seen any preschool in villages. What is Ghana Education doing? What is Ghana Education Service doing about this? This is from Confidence from Kita.
Yeah, I think Mommy tackled that concern. Yeah.
Okay, and we move straight to the other one, the next one. I want to acknowledge our guest for her great presentation. This is Abdul from Salga.
Okay, great.
And the last one is from Nana Osei from Kumasi. This is very insightful. Keep the good works, KTM, Kantanka TV.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Abena Safo. And Mommy, in wrapping up, what will be your closing remarks as to, maybe you could lump this up with the kind of recommendations as someone who is an expert in this area? What recommendations would you make to policymakers? What is the way forward?
The way forward is, if you are doing something, do it well. If you want to do it the white man way, do it well. So if you are having a preschool, make sure the preschool stands up to the challenges of the time. Now, those in the villages, they need it. So some don't have the money, but they just think they, like somebody said, they need it everywhere. But somebody should monitor to make sure that even if you have a preschool in that village, it goes by certain facilities and certain standards. It's a policy issue. I'm not saying don't have preschool. Time will run away and leave us. There's nothing we are doing now that we shouldn't be doing, because if you don't do it, time will catch up with you. So you do it. But my argument is that let us learn to have the patience, the tolerance, and the time to do things well, instead of rushing and messing the children up.
Okay, so thank you so much, and thank you, Abena, as well. All too soon, we've come yet again to the end of another edition of News Magazine. I have been your host, Irbad Ibrahim, ably assisted by Abena Safo, and we had in the studios former director of Ghana Education Service, Madam Nancy Elpo. Mommy, thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you so much for making
thank you too
time.
for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much. And you can watch us again on Friday. Catch a repeat of this show at 10:30 p.m. today. Join us at 10 a.m. on Friday. And keep watching Kantanka TV and stay blessed. Have a good day.